everyone, welcome to Fit Pros 2021. In this video, I'll be sharing our Sunday routine, like what we do, where we go, and what we eat for the entire day. I hope you all enjoy this video. Stay tuned and let's see what's happening in our Sunday. Our typical Sunday starts with a nice hot coffee and then we go for a breakfast. For breakfast, we always do rice porridge, which is also called kanji in Tamil. And then we have with coconut chutney or coconut thogayal because it keeps us to ease our digestion so that we can have a nice full lunch on a Sunday afternoon. So now let's start making our breakfast, which is the rice porridge. For the rice porridge, I use raw rice, not the regular rice which we use for our everyday meal. Raw rice is very little tiny grains and kernels of rice which gets easily digested. So we prefer raw rice for our porridge. And the ratio will be like 1:3. Like 1 cup of rice is to 3 cups of water, and then we just pressure cook it for almost like 2 to 3 whistles depending upon the quality of the rice you're using, and with some coconut chutney. Let's see how to make the porridge. And talking about the coconut chutney or the thogayal which we make for the breakfast, it's not the runny which we eat for dosa or idli. It's a little bit thick, so it goes very well with the porridge. In those days when my mom or when my grandma was cooking, they used to hand ground the coconut and split gram peas and green chilies and everything. But right now we don't have all those facilities, so it's very easily done in the mixie. But only thing which we have to be careful is adding water. For this chutney or thogayal, we need less water, so in case if you're doing it at home, try to add 1 spoon at a time so that you get the right thick consistency.
To make this coconut thogayal, we need 3 tablespoons of shredded coconut, 2 tablespoons of split gram dal, and few green chilies and some salt. You can adjust the green chilies according to the spice level that you can handle. Initially, first grind all these ingredients. Do not add any water. Once they are nicely ground into tiny little pieces, then add water little by little. Our coconut thogayal is completely ground and you can see how thick it's like thick paste. So this is the consistency we are looking for. When you just use a scoop or when you use a spoon, you will see like it's scooping like a nice thick set ice cream. So this is the consistency which we are looking for. When you are transferring it to a bowl, you will see it's like a nice round like a cricket ball. This consistency is the required consistency for any thogayal, so that for the runny porridge this will go very well.
Every Sundays, my children go to Tamil school because Tamil is their mother tongue and our mother tongue. So they go to Tamil school for almost like 1 or 2 hours every Sunday. So we make use of this time to do our grocery shopping. We go to farmers market to get some fresh and organic produce. And since this year we don't have school, it's all online. And then we use the time to make a lunch. Our Sunday afternoon lunch is always biryani, and we prefer chicken. So it's chicken biryani and some gravy, and then we go with air-fried chicken 65 and then some raita. For today's biryani, we are going to make with basmati rice. You would have already seen Ambur chicken biryani in our channel, which is made from Siraga Samba rice. Siraga Samba rice is a short grained rice, but basmati is extra long rice, which has its own authentic flavor and taste to it. And this is a biryani which we get in every streets in South India. And it's not the dum variety, we just cook in a 1-pot biryani. You can make this an instant pot, or you can use the dum, or you can use a steaming, or even you can use a regular pressure cooker to make this biryani. Talking about the meat that I'm using today, I'm using organic young chicken, And I always prefer going for a whole chicken rather the pieces or the cuts of different parts of chicken, because organic young chicken will be less than 5 lb, or it is close to like 3 kgs, because these chicken are fed with vegetarian fed, and they are not having any hormones, or they are injected with any antibodies. So comparatively to the inorganic meat, organic meat is always preferable. So we always go with organic meat, even it is chicken or mutton, or we prefer to go with organic every single time. And right now you will be seeing I'm using frozen whole chicken, because considering the current situation, we are unable to leave houses for a single item. So we prefer buying organic in a whole, and we always go to Costco, because they have the young chicken, which we prefer. They are vegetarian fed, or we prefer the local store where they give us fresh cut meat. But considering the current situation, we cannot go out right now, so I'm using frozen chicken. But it takes time to defrost and thaw, and then you can cut into pieces that you want. The reason why I prefer whole and organic chicken is because the way the chicken is being bred. So the breed, when we go for different cuts, the breeds are different, so it is not preferred to go for multi cuts. In case for emergency purposes, or if you're going for any outing, it's preferred. But when you're cooking in your home, always prefer for the whole chicken, so we have the entire chicken for all the cooking we are going to do today.
You can see the chicken is completely thaw, and then the color of the chicken is completely pink, and this is why we always prefer organic chicken, because they are naturally grown, they are naturally fed, and they are vegetarian fed. Sometimes it depends upon the feed, but the reason why we always go for organic chicken is the one reason will be looking at the color of the meat. You can find the difference between organic and inorganic meat by the color of the meat. We can see this bird, it's almost like pink in color, which means it's a nice quality chicken which has not been caged, or it has not been improperly fed. This is a very well grown chicken, and that's why we always go for organic chicken. And you can see the way we cut the chicken into pieces, and I always get help from my husband, because he's the one who does the job very well. And he cuts the chicken according to the menu which we're going for the day. And today we are going to do a biryani, we're going to do a semi gravy, and then chicken 65. So he's gonna separate the bones pieces and the boneless pieces. And the chicken is already prepped. You can see like he is beautifully cut. There is no skin, and I don't like skin in any of my cooking, so he has completely de-skinned it. And look at the bird, he is pinkish in color and he's just blushing. So let's cut the chicken into pieces. First he's going to take away the drumstick pieces and then the thighs, so that we can use it for the biryani and for the gravy. In case if you like doing tandoori chicken, this is the best part to make tandoori chicken. Just cut it to half. It's the complete quarters. These are 2 quarters of the chicken, and you can marinate them and you can make a nice beautiful tandoori chicken. Next he's going for the crown, and he opens the crown and then he takes the breast and then the butterflies of the breast, and then the pieces, the bone pieces where the ribs and the cages are there. This technique, I think he just got it naturally, and he can do it within minutes. I'm really proud of him. I'm having a very good butcher in my house. These are the primary cuts which we do for the chicken. That's the crown, which has the wings attached to it, and then 2 thigh parts, and then the drumsticks, which is the chicken leg. These are the main parts of the chicken which we're going to use. And since I'm gonna do a biryani, I'm gonna use the drumstick to the biryani, so I'm just gonna chop it into pieces. And let's see how he does. And then he separates all this meat into three different categories. The next step which we are going to do is give our chicken a nice turmeric salt wash, because you all know we have to immediately cook the chicken when we cut into pieces, because we touch them and we have bacteria in our hand, and there are chances for the bacteria to get transferred in the meat. So it's always essential and necessary to clean the chicken with salt and turmeric powder. Not only chicken, any kind of meat product, when you use, when you cut it, if you're not immediately cooking it, always give them a nice bath with some turmeric and salt, so they act as a disinfectant. Our chicken is all ready, and we are ready to do our air fried chicken 65, and this is the marination that I did. To the boneless pieces, I added 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 1 tablespoon of coriander powder, 1 tablespoon of tandoori powder, 1 teaspoon of garam masala, and 1.5 tablespoons of ginger garlic paste, few curry leaves, and a dash of lime juice, and a few tablespoon or few teaspoons of corn flour according to your necessary, and mix them together to form a nice paste, and then start incorporating it with your meat. And this is my marination, this is how I do it. You are totally welcome to do it according to your preferences. And my kids, they are not spicy eater, so I always reduce the spice to our levels, and you are welcome to do to alterate this version of chicken 65. And the reason why we add corn flour is to just give the a nice crispiness like we regularly get from the oil fried chicken 65. And I'm adding like a quarter teaspoon of food color. It is totally optional. In case if you want a natural color for your chicken 65, you can just leave it with the masala powder. And to just give the fake look or camouflage look like we get from stores, I'm just adding a little bit of food color to just give the nice pop. Mix all these powder first, make them into a masala, and then start incorporating with your chicken pieces so that all the masalas they get evenly coated. And you can just let it sit and for about like an hour or so that they completely absorb all the juices and the masala powder which we added. You can see the masalas are completely coated, but our chicken 65 marination is a little bit dry, so we are adding 1 tablespoon of yogurt. You can switch yogurt to oil in case if you are not a yogurt person. If you don't like the milky smell in your chicken, you can substitute yogurt with some olive oil or some any cooking oil that you use. But yogurt has the tendency to tenderize the meat, and it becomes juicy, and it just tenderizes and gives us a nice soft texture to our skin, and that's the reason why we add lemon juice or yogurt. But since our mixture is very very dry, I'm just adding 1 tablespoon of yogurt.
So in case if I'm making air fried chicken 65 or a regular chicken 65, I try to marinate like 1 or 2 hours before. Or in case if it needs a longer marination, I usually go like 1 day ahead. On Saturday night, we just marinate the chicken, cover it up, and then get it prepped so that it just marinates and absorbs all the juices of the chicken. And I start cooking, and usually I go with the longest process first. Like I start the biryani, and then once the biryani is cooking, in the meantime I will start cooking the curry and the 65 and raita and everything. So it gives us a long process. So usual Sunday routine is always a heavy lunch. So our plate is completely full of chicken or any meat we prefer for the weekend.
I always place all the veggies that I need for today's cook, so I don't want to open the refrigerator for each and every cook. So for today's cook, I have some organic onions, organic tomatoes, green chilies, mint, coriander, lemon, and ginger and garlic. I always prefer homemade ginger and garlic, so we can try avoiding the preservatives. So always keep everything on your table so it's easy for your cooking. And to make biryanis, I always cut my onions in thin slices so that it helps us to get nice caramelization for the biryani. The way we cut onions also determines the taste of our cook. It's not like you just randomly chop and then put it in your cooking. The way the onion are cut and cook will just gives us the enhanced flavor. And to make the biryani, cooking the onion is one of the most important step, because that just carries the entire flavor to make the biryani. So thinly sliced onion, they caramelizes very easily, and then it gives us a faster cooking and also a nice taste. And cooking the onions on low flame also enhances the flavor for our biryani. So in case if you are in a hurry and if you want to have the most delicious the biryani, I think the best step will be like caramelizing or sauteing the onions low and slow and steady gives us the best flavored biryani. So I always cut my onions thin sliced for the biryani and for the raita, because my family, they love thin sliced onion for the raita and for the biryani, so that they don't find the pieces and they don't pick it out. I'm done chopping the onions for biryani, and now I'm starting to chop the onions for our semi gravy. For semi gravy, the best way to cut the onions is finely chopped or like cubed or diced onion, because they cook even faster than the sliced onion because they are smaller in size. They get into the oil very well, and smaller sized or cubed onion or diced onion, they give us a separate, they give us a different taste compared to the sliced onion. I'm not 100% sure, but from my cooking I just learned this the type of cut which we make in the onion, it gives us a different flavor. So for semi gravy I always prefer smaller or finely chopped onions, and this is my size, and this onion is way too big compared to the onions which we get in our regular Indian store, so I have to just make multiple cuts so that I don't cut my fingers. Next, we are gonna slit 2 green chilies and then setting it to the biryani plate. Don't forget, we are going to add chili powder, so adjust it according to your spicy level that you can handle. After the green chilies, we are gonna chop some tomatoes. You can see I cut the tomatoes into half, and then I take off the part which has the connection between the stem and the fruit, the brown part which is stuck. I think people do say that it causes some kidney stone, and I'm not 100% sure about it, but I always remove the brown part where the stem is being attached to the tomatoes. And for the biryanis, I'm going to thinly slice the tomatoes, and for my gravy, as we did for the onions, I'm just gonna finely chop it, and I'm gonna set it everything in a different plate so that while you're cooking, it just reduces our stress level, so we can do a faster cooking. Our mise en place is completely ready, and I'm ready to start cooking. But before we start cooking, the most important step is soaking our rice. Since we're using a basmati rice, we are going to soak it first, and I'm going to use 2.5 cups of rice. You can see this is the cup I'm going to use to measure my rice, and make use of the same cup when you're adding water to your biryani. That's the most important and key step for getting the right consistency. And I'm taking 2.5 cups, I'm just soaking it with some water, and after 5 minutes you can just give us a nice quick rinse, and then again add some water until the rice are completely soaked, and then soak them for 20 to 30 minutes and not more than that. In case if your rice are very thick, you can soak for another 10 to 20 minutes, but not more than that, because it affects the consistency of a biryani. Let's start making the biryani. To a pan, I'm adding 3 tablespoons of ghee. You can alter this with some ghee and some oil, and I'm just going to do with 3 tablespoons of ghee and 3 tablespoons of oil. Do not overpower ghee to oil because it ruins the entire taste of a biryani. So equal amount of oil and equal amount of ghee. Once the ghee is nice and hot, we can add our spices. And for today's spices, I'm gonna add like few cardamoms, few cloves, and 1 to 2 inch of cinnamon sticks. These are the spices that I'm gonna add. And once the spices are completely roasted, you can hear the spluttering sound in the from the pan. So once you hear the spluttering sound, you can add the onions, and that shows that our spices are completely roasted in our ghee and oil, and then you can start adding onions.